Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cathy Chat. I absolutely love meeting so many fantastic people every single week in our dynamic networking world. And today you have the opportunity to meet the one and only Sandra McKechnie. I can't wait for you to hear about the superstar. It's so fun to have you here today, Sandra.
Nice to be here, Kathy. Really nice to be here.
I am so excited. Every time we've met in the Happy Neighborhood Project, I have been able to glean a little bit more of what you have to offer the masses, and I can't wait to share your expertise with the world. I don't know. I don't even know where to start. You were born in, and now you this, and now you that, or where should we start?
Well, we can start here. I was born in Barbados,
Okay.
and then I came here when I was 8 years old. And mommy and daddy brought us here, and that was great. And yeah, from there, my one of my very first things that made me sort of who I was the arts in terms of singer songwriting. So I did quite a bit of traveling, 100 Huntley Street, People's Church in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. And so I would do some media. I'd go across the states and I would do a lot of billets, stay overnight or stay a weekend, and I'd sing. And I did that for a living. I did it one time straight for 9 months. But it was a lot. But I think I really love what singing can do more than the traveling part of it. But that was one thing, and it always remains a part of me. So even now with what I do, I really, really, I'll stick it in because I do cultural sensitivity and awareness trainings learnings, and I'll put it in there, especially when we're live. I will, when I go out and I do it live for audiences or corporate world or supervisors, upper management, wherever I go, I will try and put it in, bring a band and stuff. But yeah, that's my heartbeat has been that fundamentally. It never leaves. It's not the thing that I like my job. So we want me to get into that? You want to get into my
Well,
job?
you now we're stepping back just a little bit here, my friend.
Yes.
You said that you sing, and that just absolutely explodes my heart. So I must ask, do you have a YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel about what I do, but on there you'll catch me singing on some of those podcasts at the beginning because I have a podcast called Voices of Humanity at PR Connections Radio, and so I have a little part in there where sometimes I'll sing, and so the CEO said to me, "Okay, you got to keep putting that in there. You
Yes.
got to keep putting that in there." 'Cause- yeah,
And
so
I'm
that's
going to ask you before we hang up today for a little rendition. So please
Oh, I've got a
continue.
rendition. I've got
Yes.
a couple of things I wrote so I don't get slapped. So or shadow banned. It's my stuff and
Okay.
sure.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. But please tell us about your company, how you got started, who you're able to help with what you do. I want to know every single thing about you. Of course, we only have 20 minutes, but we'll
I
try
know,
and
but
do
that's okay. We'll do our best. This is good. And I love your shows. It's bright. People are on here and they're just comfortable. I think it's a
yes.
real comfortable platform with Kathy
Thank you.
Weaver.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I run cultural sensitivity and awareness trainings called Double Consciousness. It's under my business, Sandra McKechnie Productions. And Double Consciousness is what we do is we give registrants an opportunity. That's my pitch to just tap in to their conscious unawareness possibility that they may not be aware in terms of their relationship to marginalized people and so-called minorities. And what I love about these is that the content. I'm doing quite a bit of them now, Kathy, here online anyway, for supervisors and upper management of a company, and I've got quite a few of them to do, which is so great. It gives people an opportunity just to deconstruct mindsets in terms of bias, anti-oppression of all the groups on the planet, like how you look at groups besides yourself. And a lot of it has to do with the classification of races, the way that we were taught kind of through the time warp. I always go back in the time warp, 21st century, 20, 19, 18, 17. A lot of stuff happened back there. And we passed a lot of stuff on, genetically, epigenetically, the way our behaviors and certain things. So people say biases. I don't have those. What are those? I treat everybody with respect.
Yes.
Well, that is very true, be it that as it may. We certainly do. But what do we say when, I don't know, a certain group of people cut us off on the road and you look in the car and you see a certain group and you go, oh, they can't drive, or, something like that. Or someone does something in your life and you go, Yeah, that's what they're like. Or you see an indigenous person on the street and they're intoxicated, or someone that's indigent is homeless begging, and you go, mm-hmm, yeah, that group, right? Or you hear things in the news and you think, oh, yeah, it's them for sure. And just different ways that we kind of stereotype each other. And I always say it's like telephone. That stereotypes sometimes can be true, have a measure of truth, but some of them can turn up like total fabrication. So, you know, that telephone sort of story that people will say, you whisper something in someone's ear, the first person, it gets to the 20th person and it's something different. So you might whisper in someone's ear, I'm going to lunch. And by the time it gets to the 20th person, it may end up being, I feel like a dunce, and you didn't say anything like that. So it ends up being something, right? So we go back and forth through this time warp in our trainings. And then we tap in to what really happened back there. So we do some critical thinking. I was interviewing someone about critical thinking just now on my podcast, and I jumped into this one, but it was really about, I know we do a lot of jumping around here,
Yes, we do.
right? It was really about like taking a bird's eye view of something and really having the information, like, debunking something if you think it's so true and you believe it so much, but be critical about it a little bit. It doesn't mean you're criticizing people, but more of what you think. Have a look at all sides. Look at life from both sides now. You know that song? So, so you kind of look at that, and this is what we do in these trainings because it's sensitive. We have people coming through, excuse the bywords, whites, blacks. We have our indigenous brothers and sisters, all people from the Philippines, Korea, Japan, Chinese. Everybody comes through here. A lot came through because they needed hours and they had to come there because of their job, or potential employment. And so people would come in and they're kind of like, what is this? Come on. Do we have to talk about this? It was so long ago. And then we start to unpack it with the content, and people recognize, oh my goodness, I totally have bias. I may treat my friends a certain way and I'm not aware of it. And then all the stories start to come and people feel safe because it's a wonderfully brave and safe space. And one thing we tout in it is not my fault. I wasn't there. You know, I'm here. But somebody that was there did this and passed things. Great, great. Inadvertently, they came and they're here with us. They've attached ourselves to them. So, to us in the 21st century. And so I look at quite a bit of that via the content because we take people through the content and allowing people, even like a good coach would, we're not telling people what to do, what to think. Here it is. And then the questions come. We look at the way that people perpetually see. We were classified at the bottom of the rung, like by people of Johann Blumenbach, Carl von Linnaeus. When I say we, I mean my group. We were classified, boom, at the bottom of the rung. European, Eurocentric people with those features were first at the top. You have our indigenous people, Asians, and then blacks are right down here. So of course, the Darwin theory of evolution was all up in there. Before Darwin, we were created by our Most High God, divine. It was divine, and after that, things kind of shifted. But now, when we look at people and these black and white things, it's constructed, right? 1681, no such thing as white people. It was created, it was invented. So I start sometimes my learnings, trainings, and I say to people, did you know that white people were invented in 1681? The term, right? And it meant sanitized, it meant pure, it meant that you were up here and everybody else, for the most part, was somewhere beneath you. Um, so that had a huge thing in terms of slavery. Right. So we talk about that the way we treat our indigenous brothers and sisters has a lot to do. I had a lady on my show, Sandy Boucher, reconciliation expert, really wonderful lady. And she was just explaining, we see optics of us on the street. We are connected to the land. We're always outside. You may see us drunk and then you make a judgment. She said, but meanwhile, you're inside. You're having your wine and, enjoying yourself and overindulging and nobody cares. So it was just an opportunity for me to hear her. And she was saying, we acknowledge the land. You're acknowledging us in these spaces that we're not even invited to. So I found that to be interesting as well. Meanwhile, she said, we're not in those spaces. And why are you acknowledging the land? So it's this way of we've taught certain we were taught certain things that came with us through the time warp. Some of them we really have to debunk and reconstruct, deconstruct mindsets, and then reconstruct. So Sandy Boucher was saying that to me, that we have taught you were taught things, and some people may say, well, no, I don't believe that, but the way in which you may treat another person or another group sort of says how you may feel about that group.
It really does indeed. And I've been taking notes as you've been speaking. And that's why, even though we're recording this, I still have to do this as we go. I always have felt personally, judge not lest you be judged. I don't need any
Yes.
fingers pointing back over here. And
Yeah.
so that's always been a big thing for me, because we make an observation. First impressions are usually lasting. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, is one of the things I share with people in networking events. But one thing I would like to ask you, since your knowledge and your reach is so vast, what is the difference between labeling and identifying?
Oh, that's interesting. You mean labeling a group?
Well, yeah, because all of a sudden we have to be this religion or this ethnicity or this something. And I just want to identify, like, where you're from, where'd you come from, who's your family, all that kind of stuff, just for curiosity conversation, not necessarily for judgment calls. So
Hmm.
what's the difference between a label and an identifier?
I don't know. Like what? How
Yeah.
I identify as a black woman, a woman, and you're going to put labels on me. I don't know what the significant difference is,
Uh-uh.
but I do know now. Did you hear this in terms of race or bias?
No, actually,
Okay.
it was more, and sometimes I even say in the networking training that I do is, what's your identifier? I'm a
Mm.
master networker. I love connecting people.
Uh-huh.
Edification is my strong suit. So that's how I identify myself. And it never comes up with the race thing or education, ethnicity. All of those things don't usually come in. But I was wondering in your platforms if they do.
No, I've never actually heard that at all. I hear a lot of things,
Good, yes. And the
but
other
I.
thing,
Mhm.
what is a big surprise that you have learned while you're training people?
Oh, I have learned that predominantly white people come into our, I'm doing it right now with predominantly white people, um, that they come into the space and there's this feeling of guilt. There's a feeling of guilt. And don't know why that shows up, but it does. And I think that when we're pointing out, somebody had said to me, it has to do a lot with when you show up in a space. For instance, I was actually reading a book and they were saying when we don't call out, like right now I coach in the area of anti-bias, anti-oppression, and right now I'm handling a couple of people that are really suffering under this sort of implicit under they're being harassed, and it's happening in a way that has to do with language. It's underpinned, you can't label it, and it really is there. And the people definitely have to be white. They are white. And when we talk about the structure, sometimes people genuinely, Kathy, they genuinely do not know they're doing this. And it's the hardest thing to identify. I had to go all the way to an arbitration with someone that was going through a lot of hell, a black woman. And I went, and then I remember one of the lawyers pulled me aside. We had just an extra chat on the side. And she said, you know what? This exists, white woman. She said, and it's hard to really label it because it is covered, cloaked in implicit bias. And that's something you can't touch, right? So when we do the trainings, it unfolds so that people can go, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I didn't know this. And my thing is, hey, remember, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. But together we can turn the you and the I into the we and the our. We can do something about it. And I have people aligning with me that are really wow. I have like this woman in the States, the coaches of coaches. This woman is heavy hitter when it comes to coaching. She grew up in South Africa, apartheid white woman, came on the show and just genuinely, candidly gave her lens as to what this truly looks like. And so that Voices of Humanity is important to me because people are coming on and saying, another lady from Dublin came on, white woman again, and said, this is what it is. And just other voices, the other is also collaborating with me, the Sandra, and many other people out there too. and turning the I and the you into the we and the our, and really trying to put a dent in this thing, because people are actually suffering under it. And that's the reality, unfortunately, but it is here. And so why we go back in the time warp? Because there's a disconnect, because we showed up here, the indigenous did as well. A number of people wanted to come here, into the Americas, the land flowing with milk and honey, but we're told, shh, don't talk about it. We don't look back there. Don't look back there. Just go forward. Well, back there's the answer. And the reason is here, where we're doing trainings and learnings, and the hope is ahead. An answer for the reason of the hope that's within you. And that's where we are, getting those answers and closing and getting the healing, and just striving and pushing back and helping each individual that I have this opportunity to share with, to recognize that, oh my goodness, I really would really like to know that I'm not treating anybody with disrespect. Forget the black and white and all that. That was constructed. But humanity, it's an issue of humanity. How are we treating each other? And I've had to, through this though, one of the biggest things I've learned is my own biases. How I even look at other groups, Cathy. I had to count to 10. And it really encouraged me that, oh my gosh, this is just not about me and black people. And oh my gosh, we went through hell and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people did as well, but it's how we are taught, tapping into how are we taught to think of each other? How are we really taught to think of each other? Yeah.
One of the things I share often when some of these topics come up is we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's not just a matter of something against you. Guess what? Eventually it's going to be against me. And so it's
Yes.
back and forth all the time. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like you are dealing with some of your clients as far as regret, disappointment, expectation, all of those words that come through sounds like that's what you actually help us deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. And how to make it more logical. So you're not blaming others or blaming yourself, realizing we were duped. We didn't get it in school.
Right.
It's
And you know,
okay.
yeah.
Right? So,
And it's just seriously, you mentioned about the sensitivity piece, and I never have quite figured out why anybody would do something purposefully to harm or denigrate someone else. It doesn't make any sense to me, actually. And so that's why it's so lovely to have you on today, because I feel that what you have to share is for the masses. And
absolutely.
I love the fact that you're able to train us across the globe, first of all. But I think that this Zoom platform and some of the other platforms that we use, this is StreamYard, and
Right.
some of the other platforms that we get to use across the globe that works beautifully, really has helped us connect from all across the planet. And I love that for you as well. And
Yes.
it's beautiful. I appreciate so much you being on today.
Thank you.
Cathy, on Cathy Chat, we have Sandra McKechnie. You'll notice on the scrolling banner, it's www.doubleconsciousness.com, and that's two B's in double. So please reach out and connect with Sandra, because this lady is someone that all of us need to know. Before we say goodbye today, my friend, is there anything yet that you haven't shared with our audience that would be so impactful for them to be able to navigate through their daily lives?
Just to remember, in these issues, it is not your fault or mine, but together we can do something about it.
Together is such a beautiful word.
Hmm.
And of course, now I have to ask you, how did doubleconsciousness.com come to be with two B's? Imagine, yeah, I have to ask you that.
Yes, double consciousness is this one B. It's a concept put forward by W. E. Du Bois, social reformer. He was calendar boy for the NAACP for over 20 years.
Okay.
And he inspired me to do this. He's not here anymore, but his work inspired me to do this. There was no other B's left. There was no one B's. So I had to take two, but it's fitting, right?
It is very
Double
fitting.
consciousness.
It's fitting, plus it's impactful,
Yes.
and you get the double entendre of the double B. And so
That's
I
right.
love that whole drill. Now,
Thank you.
I would be remiss, since we talked about it, for my buddy Sandra to say goodbye to us in song.
Oh my goodness. I have this song I wrote. It's called I'll just do a little bit of it. You brought me here to pray.
Ah,
And I'm working on another project, and I'm hoping to get it out as soon as I can. You brought me here to pray. You are all that I want. You are all that I need. and you brought me here when I can't find my way. You're all that I need, and you brought me here to pray. Struggle on. Sometimes I really struggle so hard. Do others deep inside? You brought me here to another place this time where living waters flow. When I remember how to cry, you're all that I want. You are all that I need. And you brought me right here when I can find my way. You're all that I need. And you brought me here to pray.
Oh my goodness, that is magnificent, and I am thrilled that you shared it with us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you, Cathy. My
Honestly.
pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
please, and I really mean this for all of our sakes, if you consider a playlist on your YouTube channel, my friend, especially the songs that you've personally written, and obviously to be able to have your rendition, I think that would be an impactful part of your YouTube channel.
Thank you, because I'm sitting on you when it comes to YouTube. You know that. It's the YouTube queen. Okay. Thank you, Cathy.
I really,
I
that
will
was
see to it.
impactful and beautiful, my friend. And I
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
so much you being on Cathy Chat today. For all of our friends listening with us now, or certainly on the replays, this is a podcast and a video, therefore a vodcast. And my guest today on Cathy Chat is the one and only Sandra McKechnie. So hopefully you'll be able to watch this and be able to actually feel the words from this magnificent superstar. Thank you again for being with me today, everyone, and certainly to you as well, Sandra. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Bye now.
Bye.